Psalms of the 1nOnly exploring divine names. Adonai, the sovereign Lord. Meditation. Adonai, the name that echoes the sovereignty and majesty of God. As we meditate on this name, let us reflect on the power and authority that God holds over all creation and how it invites us to trust in his divine plan. Prayer. O Adonai, sovereign Lord, we bow before your majesty. Guide us with your wisdom and grant us the humility to submit to your will. May your sovereignty bring peace to our hearts and clarity to our paths. Amen. Reflection. The name Adonai reveals God's role as the ultimate ruler and protector. It reminds us of the divine order and the assurance that we are under his care. In acknowledging his sovereignty, we find comfort and strength to face life's uncertainties. El Elyon, the Most High God meditation. El Elyon, the Most High God, transcends all earthly realms. As we meditate, let us contemplate his supreme power and the vastness of his love that reaches beyond the heavens. Prayer. El Elyon, Most High God, we exalt your name above all else. Lift our spirits to new heights, and let us find refuge in your everlasting arms. May your presence be our guiding light. Amen. Reflection. El Elyon signifies God's supremacy and his ultimate authority over all things. This name calls us to recognize his greatness and to find solace in his omnipotence. It challenges us to elevate our faith and trust in his divine purpose. Yahweh Shalom, the Lord is peace. Meditation. Yahweh Shalom, the Lord is peace, is a name that envelops us in divine tranquility. As we meditate, let us embrace the peace that surpasses all understanding, a peace that only God can provide. Prayer. Yahweh Shalom, Lord of peace, calm the storms within us. Fill our hearts with your serenity, and let us be instruments of your peace in the world. Amen. Reflection. The name Yahweh Shalom reveals God's desire for harmony and wholeness in our lives. It invites us to seek his peace amidst chaos and to carry that peace to others. In Yahweh Shalom, we find the assurance of his presence and the promise of rest. Conclusion. In these divine names, we uncover the multifaceted nature of God and his profound relationship with humanity. Each name invites us to a deeper understanding and a more intimate connection with the divine. As we reflect on these names, may we approach the mysteries of God's love with humility and openness, trusting in his sovereignty and love.
Okay, let's dive in. We've got some really striking phrases here. Swinging on the grapevine, mind blown, quantum spiritual lens, tears fall like candy rain, even blasting off like the Rocket Man.
Yeah, quite a mix.
Seems kind of random at first glance, right?
No.
But whether they're, actually connected, pointing to something bigger.
That's exactly what we want to explore today. It's fascinating how these pieces pulled straight from the audio and reflections we looked at give us this window into a really complex inner world.
Right.
We'll be talking about personal struggle, sure, but also digging into how we perceive reality itself.
And the role of art.
Yeah, artistic expression, transformation, and this kind of blend of spirituality with ideas that almost sound like, well, quantum physics.
Exactly. It's a rich set of sources. And it's not just those audio bits. We've also got that document personal struggle, perception, and transformative expression.
Right. The one outlining recurring themes.
Yeah, that helps frame things. And then there's the other summary, unity, identity, resistance, and transformation. Gives us another angle.
Different lenses for the same material, essentially.
So think of this as our mission for this deep dive. Really get into these sources, pull out the core insights about getting through tough times.
Navigating challenges.
Understanding reality maybe on different levels, the power of creativity, that drive we all have for change, and maybe finding some deeper meaning in it all.
Yeah, our goal is definitely to connect these dots. Hopefully by the end, the links between these themes will be much clearer.
And listeners will have some genuinely thought-provoking stuff to chew on. Sound good.
Let's do it. Where should we start? Maybe with the struggle. That seems pretty central.
Good idea. It really jumps out, doesn't it? Phrases like walking on eggshells.
Yeah, or things not tasting right. That feeling of being down deep in the trenches. It's palpable.
It really is. You feel that weight, that sense that something's just off.
But, and this is key, it's not just struggle. There's this incredible resilience alongside it.
Totally. You hear things like, my corpse rose above, or that promise, I will always be there for you.
And that metaphor, born in the storm and stole the board. Wow.
Right. It's like, even in the absolute worst of it, there's this fight, this refusal to just sink.
It's that dynamic, isn't it? The pain seems to almost fuel the defiance. Like, hitting bottom can paradoxically spark this incredible determination.
Yeah, finding strength right in the vulnerability, that really seems to be at the heart of what these sources are saying about just being human.
Mm-hmm. And that leads naturally into how we perceive things, doesn't it? How we experience reality itself, which is where things get, well, pretty mind-bending.
Definitely. I mean, you've got lines like real fiction or fake or just subject to the one to subgate, makes you stop and think, what is real anyway?
Right. It immediately questions the idea of a single objective reality. It hints that maybe what we see isn't fixed, maybe it's malleable, influenced by us.
And that opens the door to those more abstract ideas, like the quantum spiritual lens.
Yeah, and Earth as a quantum simulation.
Okay, quantum spiritual lens. Let's unpack that a bit. It sounds potentially complex.
It does, but I think the core idea, as used in these sources, is about seeing reality as more than just physical stuff. It's interconnected, possibly shaped by our consciousness.
Like our thoughts and awareness actually influence things.
That seems to be the suggestion. Again, not strictly physics here, but using that idea from quantum physics, the observer effect as a metaphor, like our focus, our inner state, might shift the possibilities we experience.
So the quantum simulation idea isn't necessarily literal computers.
Probably not, no. More like a metaphor for how subjective reality can feel, how it might be constructed, in a way, by our collective and individual consciousness, emphasizing our role in shaping what we perceive.
So it's less about proving a science theory, more about empowerment, thinking about how we co-create our experience.
I think that's exactly it. It frames your thoughts, your beliefs, not just as reactions to reality, but as active forces shaping it, moving from feeling like a victim of circumstance towards being, well, a co-creator.
And that prism in my head image fits right in there.
Perfectly. We each filter the world through our own unique lens. Same input, different output, essentially.
Really makes you wonder how much solid reality is just our interpretation. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Art. Artistic expression comes up a lot.
Yeah, and not just as a hobby. It's presented as this really fundamental tool for processing life, for transforming it even.
Like the artist piecing parts of me to write lyrics.
Exactly. That suggests creation is also self-discovery, maybe healing. Taking the raw stuff, the pain, the confusion, and making something meaningful out of it.
Giving it form, maybe understanding it better that way. And that line about alchemy. Gold from silver alchemized every verb.
Right. Language, music. Having this power to elevate, to change the nature of the experience itself. It's quite profound.
It really suggests that any creative outlet, big or small, can be a powerful way to work through things, to make sense of our own chaos.
Absolutely. Find your own form of alchemy, maybe.
Which ties directly into the broader theme of transformation, doesn't it? Not just expressing, but actually changing.
Yes. Internal change, maybe external too. That alchemy metaphor, again, turning base metal like lead into gold, transforming hardship into wisdom, struggle into strength.
That makes sense. But then there's that other concept, timeline collapsing and upgrading. That sounds different.
It does sound a bit sci-fi, I admit, but within that quantum spiritual lens framework, it seems to suggest something about shifting realities based on our inner state.
So like, as our consciousness evolves or our vibration changes, we might actually move into different potential realities, more positive ones.
That seems to be the idea. Less like linear time, more like tuning into different frequencies. By changing your inner world beliefs, emotions, awareness, you might align with a different timeline or possibility.
Okay, so it's not literal time travel.
Doesn't seem like it. More about how shifting your internal state changes your external experience. You tune in to a different reality stream, so to speak.
And those symbolic phrases like rose plant in my hand be the petal turtle dove, or you dive and then you fly.
Exactly. They seem to represent breaking through limitations, accessing these potentially better realities or states of being, overcoming and evolving.
It's definitely an empowering perspective, this idea that we're not just passive observers, but we're actively involved through our inner world.
Mm-hmm. And underpinning a lot of this seems to be a sense of spirituality or connection to higher consciousness.
Yeah, it's woven throughout, sometimes explicitly with mentions of God, but also in ideas like consciousness creates reality, that quantum spiritual lens, or being a portal into higher consciousness.
It suggests a belief in something bigger than the material world, right? An interconnectedness, a deeper intelligence or energy at play.
And the idea of Earth as a consciousness school.
Yeah, or ascension as a spiritual journey. It frames everything, the struggles, the insights, as part of a larger process of learning and evolving. Makes you think about your own sense of connection, doesn't it?
It really does. But within that big picture, there's also this very personal tension between connection and, well, isolation.
Definitely. That line, lonely, handsome, knowing that only the lonely, wow, that hits hard.
It really does. Speaks volumes about feeling alone, even if things look okay on the surface.
And you hear about struggling to trust, feeling misunderstood, that basic human feeling of being separate, maybe looking in from the outside.
That raw question, tell me why I exist, it often comes from that place of feeling disconnected, doesn't it?
It often does. But importantly, that's not the whole story in these sources. There's also this counter message.
The connection part.
Yeah. The reassurance that you are not alone. The idea that we're all part of this grand tapestry of knowledge and strength.
So even when you feel totally isolated, there's this underlying potential for unity, a shared experience.
Exactly. It acknowledges both the pain of isolation and the reality of interconnectedness. It's a complex picture, which feels very true to life. Makes you reflect on your own balance between the two.
It's a crucial balance. And alongside these internal feelings, the sources are pretty vocal about society, about norms and expectations.
Well, absolutely. There's a real questioning, often a rejection, of limitations imposed from the outside.
You hear it in that defiant question, tell me what you thought it'd be, like, don't try to box me in.
And the dismissal of naysayers, sometimes quite forcefully. It underlines the strong drive to define oneself, to break free.
Yeah, that desire to do it how I want to do it, to step outside the expected context, it's powerful.
Actually, look at your own life, Where am I maybe accepting limits I don't need to?
Good question. And the way all these complex ideas are conveyed, it relies so heavily on metaphor and symbolism.
It really does. It's the language being used to express these deep feelings and abstract thoughts.
Like walking on eggshells. Instantly understandable, that feeling of tension and fragility.
Or candy rain. Such a bittersweet image for tears pain, but maybe release too.
Yeah. And the bigger ones like Rocket Man, that impulse to transcend, to escape limitations.
And alchemy, of course. That recurring symbol for inner transformation, turning lead into gold, struggle into wisdom.
These metaphors, they just land differently than a plain statement, don't they? They create images, evoke feelings.
They really do. They invite a deeper connection, a more intuitive grasp of the ideas. Learning to recognize and interpret them is like, well, unlocking another layer of understanding, both in these sources and just in general.
It adds so much richness. Okay, so bringing things together, that unity, identity, resistance, transformation summary helps crystallize some key takeaways.
Right. It points to that core belief in unity, one can be all, linking back to the interconnectedness we talked about.
And the focus on identity, exploring it from different angles, the self, the divine connection, that inner reflection piece.
And it highlights that resistance, that pushing back against limits, coupled with the drive for empowerment, taking control. Alchemy again.
Actively shaping your own story.
And the summary also mentions those sometimes abrupt or provocative shifts in language in the source material.
Right. Those moments that feel maybe jarring.
Yeah. It seems like another form of expression, maybe reflecting intense emotion, or a deliberate choice to challenge or provoke a reaction, part of the overall texture.
Okay. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just quickly recap the main threads we've pulled.
Sounds good.
We've seen this journey through personal struggle, but always with resilience shining through.
We've looked at reality as maybe more subjective, more fluid, shaped by our perception, that whole quantum spiritual lens.
Well, we talked about creative expression as this vital tool for processing and transforming experience. Alchemy in action.
Right. And the ongoing process of evolution, personal and maybe spiritual, timelines shifting, consciousness growing.
We touched on the push and pull of connection versus isolation, questioning societal norms.
And the incredible power of metaphor and symbolism to convey it all.
So, maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Considering this connection between struggle, perception, and the potential for real transformation we've seen here.
Yeah.
What if just a small shift in your own perspective, maybe trying out that quantum spiritual lens view, or even exploring some form of creative expression you haven't tried? What possibilities might that unlock for you?
That's a great question. Recognizing yourself as both the observer and the creator in your own life story.
Yeah. What could change?
It's definitely something to sit with. Ultimately, I think these sources and all their complexity remind us that this journey of self-discovery, of becoming, it's messy, it's challenging, but it's also incredibly meaningful.
Absolutely. So keep exploring, keep questioning, keep digging into what resonates. Until next time. Okay, so you've brought us this really fascinating mix of material this time. We've got YouTube transcripts from Carnage 1nOnly, this study guide digging into themes, and even some like deeper spiritual stuff that seems connected.
Yeah, it's quite the collection. Carnage One only really uses his channel to, put himself out there. Music, lyrics.
And it's a real mix, isn't it? Like freestyle raps, actual songs, even spoken word.
Exactly. And the study guide adds a layer of analysis, plus those spiritual texts. They sort of give a wider context, maybe.
Right. So our mission basically is to sift through all this for you, pull out the key stuff, the main themes, the insights about Carnage 1nOnly's work, and these bigger ideas he touches on.
Kind of a shortcut to the core of it all without getting lost in the weeds.
Exactly. We'll connect the dots, help make sense of how it all fits together.
Hopefully land on some, aha moments for everyone listening.
Okay, so where do we start?
So much.
But one thing that really leaves out, and it's in the lyrics, the guide mentions it too, is this intense inner conflict, this like fractured sense of self.
Oh, definitely. It's incredibly direct. Like in #CarnageNation, you've got stop your failure, you fucking failure. I mean, that's brutal self-critique.
Wow, yeah.
But then right after, different shades of me. So it's not just self-hatred. It's this awareness of complexity, maybe a struggle with accepting all those parts.
And that line, I'm the one who's afraid of me, that really hits, doesn't it? Like the biggest obstacle is internal.
Mm-hmm. It suggests the fear comes from within. And then you see hints in C10 powder pack preview too, like didn't trust. I know, close to shade. It hints at maybe, vulnerability, trust issues bubbling under the surface.
Right, maybe from past stuff.
Could be. And speaking of complexity, that bit in We Can Be about happiness existing in a man with depression.
Yeah, that stood out.
It is such an honest take, right? Acknowledging you can feel joy even when you're struggling. It's not black and white.
Totally. And the study guide points this out too, the self-doubt, that fear of judgment. What would they think of me? Would they hate me? That sounds really deep-seated.
Yeah, a real concern about how the real him might be received, which links back to that feeling of being misunderstood you mentioned.
From #CarnageNation, right? I don't think you've seen me the way you're supposed to be.
Exactly. Like, there's a gap between his inner reality and how others see him, or maybe even how he presents himself.
It's incredibly raw.
Yeah.
And it feels like a lot of this stems from, past experiences. And that seems to be another huge layer here.
For sure. The past definitely casts a long shadow. In C10 Powder Pack preview, there's that aggressive line, had your bitch on the table with my tongue.
Yeah, pretty confrontational.
It is. But you wonder, is that aggression coming from a place of hurt, like a defense mechanism, needing to project power because of past pain?
That makes sense. And then in #CarnageNation, that line about being robbed of innocence in my head, I've been 80s since my adolescence.
Yeah.
That's incredibly direct about early trauma.
Yeah, a powerful statement about something lost early on that's still impacting him. A kind of enduring wound from those formative years.
And the vulnerability in We Can Be, mentioning fuck dad wasn't there, didn't have companionship, that hits hard too.
Absolutely. Absence of a parent, lack of connection. Those are fundamental things. You can see how that would shake someone's art, their whole outlook.
And the study guide emphasizes this, right? It talks about a history marked by pain, leading to maybe a defensive front, feeling kind of trapped by the past.
Exactly. And maybe that's where the whole carnage persona comes from. It's such a strong image.
Yeah, let's talk about that. In C10 Powder Pack preview, he calls himself the enforcer and informant. That's specific.
Very specific, like claiming these roles of power, maybe control.
And the energy and the fluent freestyle, swinging tongue like a katana, natural disaster, quantum eruption, claiming territory. It's huge, almost mythic.
It really is. And the study guide suggests this persona could be, a shield, a way to put that inner turmoil outside himself.
Or maybe reclaim some power if you felt powerless before.
That's a really good point. Is it the real him or is it armor? Maybe both. It's like embodying this destructive force to protect the softer parts.
But even with that tough exterior, we do see other things creeping in. Connection, love, loss. It's not all aggression.
Not at all. Look at Carnage Only first. Amidst all the boasting you get, I will always need you, and that really tender line, let me be the first one to say I love you to infinity.
That's a huge contrast, isn't it?
Massive contrast. It shows a real capacity for deep feeling, for attachment.
And even in We Can Be, with all the struggle, he admits, I still think of you. Can I get you off my mind? That lingering connection to someone.
Yeah, it shows that relationships, past or present, have a real emotional weight, even with the tough persona. The study guide picks up on that too, this underlying desire for real understanding, the impact of those connections.
It just makes the whole picture so much more human, more complex than just the surface level aggression.
Definitely. Which actually brings us to another interesting layer, those spiritual and philosophical bits you mentioned.
Right, the excerpts from Divinely Designed Storytime, sermons, the universe soul. How do these fit in?
Well, they offer this broader perspective. Take the divinely designed one about Elias. He's all about gaining knowledge, right?
Yeah, totally immersed in study.
But he realizes it's become a burden, stopping him from actually living in the moment, finding that balance.
Okay, I see. So, like the internal conflict in the lyrics, there's maybe a parallel journey here between thinking and just being.
Exactly. Maybe a tension between analyzing the self and just experiencing life. It hints at maybe a path the artist is exploring too, moving beyond chaos towards something else.
Grounding, maybe. And what about the sermon stuff?
That touches on responsibility, to the universe, carrying each other's burdens from Galatians, and finding strength through struggle.
Like adversity making you stronger. References to Corinthians Psalms.
Yeah, the idea that hardship isn't just pain, it can be transformative. It can connect you to something bigger, and the call to help each other, that community aspect again.
Okay. And the universe soul? That seemed pretty expansive.
It really is. It talks about inner wisdom, how everything's connected, finding common threads in different religions, synchronicity.
Like meaningful coincidences.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
And introspection, meditation, achieving that unity of mind, body, spirit. Big concepts.
So how does this connect back to Carnage? Could his art be part of exploring this stuff? Like, the honesty is a way of confronting the inner world to find that unity.
That's the fascinating question, isn't it? It suggests the art isn't just venting pain. Maybe it's also documenting a search for insight, for healing even. It adds this potential layer of intention.
Makes sense. And that ties into another theme, doesn't it? This idea of letting go.
Oh, absolutely. Very direct in the let it go freestyle. Just repeating, let it go.
Like a mantra.
Exactly. The study guide sees it as wanting to release all that negativity, the past stuff we talked about, to allow for growth, shedding the weight.
It sounds like a conscious effort to move forward, to evolve.
A kind of self-liberation, yeah. You have to consciously choose to drop the baggage.
Which really highlights the role of the art itself in this whole process. It seems central.
Totally central. The biography piece, The Rise of the Sun, mentions writing was his main way to communicate early on, and describes his music as a mirror reflecting his journey.
A mirror. That's a good way to put it. Expression and self-reflection.
And the study guide reinforces that art as a way to transform adversity. Not just express it, but shape it into something else, something potentially connective.
So taking the pain and making something meaningful from it, maybe something others can relate to.
Yeah, that potential for shared understanding, for empathy, is huge. It validates the listener's own struggles, perhaps.
So when you look at everything together, despite all the darkness, the conflict, there's also this thread of resilience, a potential for positive change.
I think that's crucial. The biography talks about turning personal adversity into collective strength. It's not just about him, it's about using his experience to connect, maybe inspire.
Moving beyond the personal pain towards something bigger.
Right. And the spiritual texts echo that overcoming pain leads to growth. We have a responsibility to make things better. There's a belief in transformation, even when things are tough.
It feels hopeful, actually, woven into all the rawness.
Yeah, the journey's clearly not simple, but that potential for growth, for connection, seems to always be there in the background, or sometimes right up front.
Okay, so wrapping this up for everyone listening, we've dug into some really raw honesty about internal battles, the weight of the past, this complex Carnage persona that's both shield and expression.
But also found these currents of connection, a real longing for love, for understanding, and this journey towards self-discovery may be informed by these wider spiritual ideas.
Plus that conscious effort to let go and the absolutely vital role of art music, writing as an outlet, a way to heal, and a way to connect.
And overall, despite the hardships, a real sense of resilience, that capacity for change is definitely there.
So maybe a final thought to leave you with. Considering all these clashing emotions, these different ideas packed into the lyrics and the other material, what does this really tell us about just how complex being human is? And maybe how vital art is for navigating that complexity?
Yeah, how artists manage to channel all that inner stuff, the turmoil, into something that clicks with other people. It's like you get a window into their fight, but it also maybe opens a door to understanding for everyone, makes you think.